Good morning.
Morning. Good morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
This is my boomstick.
Here's Johnny.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Righteous! Righteous! Yeah!
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Good morning, Vietnam!
Houston, we have a problem.
The first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to This Film Nerds podcast. As always, my name is Will Spalding. And again, as always, I'm joined by sjdierberger. Sam, how's it going?
We're doing okay. How are you, Will? Well, first of all, I'm kind of disappointed by my introduction there.
Yeah, the writing team, I gave them the week off.
No adjectives at all.
Right. But
we
should say, this is all scripted. These are not original thoughts.
Much like the film we will talk about today.
Right.
This show is 100% scripted, even though it doesn't seem like it.
But, I was going to say this. We're getting into that time of year in the Midwest where the high of the week where I'm at right now was happened today, and it was 3 degrees. And that's the whole week. So, it feels like the right time of year to sit down and watch a movie. So I guess I can't complain too much.
No. It's good movie watching weather, I suppose. It's unfortunate because it feels like we talk about this every week, but theaters are finally starting to open back up.
Right.
In most areas. And they're going to suffer another rough week because, especially with this HBO Max deal, because people are like, don't really feel like going outside right now.
Because it's cold. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, I have to, for legal obligations, I have to issue a formal statement that Judas and the Black Messiah did not come out this past weekend. Which I said we would be doing an episode on, but since it didn't come out last weekend, we can't do an episode on. So that I goofed. Sure. That's my fault. We will be doing Judas next weekend or next week for next week's episode. Go check that out in theaters this weekend. Or is Judas the one of the ones that's on HBO Max? Is that a Warner Brothers?
Yeah. It is. Yes.
So Go check it out in theaters. Go to the theaters, but if not, then...
Needless to say, we fired like 7 interns over that blunder. So.
Right. And the writing deal tonight, oh my gosh.
So there was that. But yes, anyway, with that in mind, this week we are talking about Malcolm and Marie.
Mystery. The unknown. It's what supports the tension of a relationship.
You're angry.
No, the what if factor.
Marie.
What if there's someone who loved them better?
Yeah, Malcolm and Marie. Sometimes we talk movies on this show. Or we always talk movies on the show, but some movies that we talk on this show, I feel like the conversation would be a bit dry, just because we don't have much to say about it. The Devil All the Time comes to mind. Not a particularly great movie, not a particularly bad movie, but there's not much to say about it. This week I think could be an interesting conversation. So we will get to that in the coming segment of the show. But Sam, for now. I just want to do a light industry news talk. I'm not sure if we have anything other than just one topic, but I think it's worth talking about.
I do have a minor second piece that's worth discussing.
Should we have the second piece actually be the first piece, or do you want to actually save it for second?
Yeah, I mean, this is just so I just saw this on Variety just now. Got released today, it looks like. It says the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences has announced this shortlist for 9 categories for the upcoming Oscars. So a shortlist is somewhere between like a nomination and anything else, you know. So it's kind of like a list of possible nominees for 9 categories here. So they have documentary feature, international feature film, makeup and hairstyling, music, music original song, visual effects, animated short film, documentary short subject, live action short film. So just kind of the minor ones.
Right.
I don't see much that stands out to me, you know, besides music, original score. I mean, certainly there's a lot of big ones there. We have Mank, we have Soul, News of the World, Tenet, and Trial of Chicago 7, and makeup and hairstyling, which might be interesting. Birds of Prey, Hillbilly Elegy, which I think we both predicted.
Yep.
I think that's obviously the favorite for this category. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Mank, and Pinocchio, actually, which we have yet to check out. But yeah, international. The other one that's worth mentioning is international feature film. Another Round
Nice.
is at the top of that list. So
Is
yeah.
okay. So a couple years ago, it got correct me if I'm wrong. The category got changed from foreign language film to international feature film, I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that would mean Minari would not count, correct?
I'm not sure about that.
Because I think Minari. I mean, the director. Now he has America. It was made in America, so that tells me it's not a foreign film. But I guess I could be wrong.
A24 is an American company,
right?
But I don't. You know, I guess I'm not sure.
I think that's the case. I think because it would have counted like 4 years ago because it was foreign language film. Now it's international feature. So okay, I think I cleared that up in my head at least.
Okay.
I have what's documentary? What's on that list?
Let's see. Let me find
Boys State. Okay.
Which funny enough, I went to Boys State. Like it's an actual thing. As far as I can tell, I haven't seen the film, but as far as I can tell from the trailer, it looks pretty accurate. Down to the t-shirts. I believe this one takes place in Texas. Mine took place in our home tundra of Minnesota. So, that's interesting. Let's see. So we got 76 Days, All In, The Fight for Democracy, Boys State, Collective, Crip Camp, Dick Johnson is Dead, which, okay. Gunda, MLK, FBI, The Mole Agent, The Octopus Teacher, Naterno, The Painter and the Thief, Time, The Truffle Hunters, and Welcome to Chechnya.
Yeah, I think I feel like Boys State is the favorite there, but I just wanted to see what else was on that list. Interesting.
Yeah, A24 could actually have a big year.
They certainly could.
We'll know more as we get closer. Obviously, this is just the Academy kind of teasing us a little bit.
Right. We're about a month out from nominations.
Because, I mean, like we said, they're not even noms. They're just lists of possible noms. And even then, it's only, 9 of the categories. Not that no one cares about them, but,
Sure.
They're not the big ones.
What else does A24 have this year? I mean, we said Minari, Boys State. What else are they have on that?
We got, let's see. Well, it looks like, I don't think A24 is even listed on the production list because a lot of them, I think A24 had some, well, it's listed on the production list for Minari, but,
okay.
Like, I think they were in association with Prime Video or something, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see.
Oh, I think On the Rocks might have been A24 too, and
I think it was.
and
Yeah.
then it got picked up by Apple TV, but I think that was an
Right.
A24 joint.
Yeah, Boys State, On the Rocks, Zola,
Okay.
which I remember. But yeah.
Well, there we go.
First cow.
Oh shoot! Right. So we got those nominations. I feel maybe we said it before, maybe 100 times. Maybe I sound like a broken record. But March 15th for Oscar noms, and we'll obviously break that on down. But for now, Sam, let's get into the original piece of news we had, and then we'll talk the movie of the week.
Sure.
That is that Christopher Plummer, the great Christopher Plummer, has passed away at the age of 91. Is that correct? Or
I think it's 94.
Oh, 94. Oh, okay.
It was a full life.
Yeah.
It was a full life.
Yeah, dude lived a long time. 1929. I think that 90 something. He's up there. Let's just say that. But yeah, really sad. We both like Christopher Plummer, and he's an obvious talent. He's been working for decade, like 60, 80 years.
Something like that. I mean,
yeah.
Early I think his first
60s?
film role was really 1958.
82 years or 80
something like that. And he
years, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, and that was just for film. I mean, he was a Shakespearean actor.
Right.
So he did a lot of plays before that for about a decade. So he had been acting professionally since 1948, which is pretty wild to think about.
72 years. Dang.
72 years, all the way up till Knives Out, in 2019.
And he's limited role in Knives Out, but he's fun to watch in that. So I saw this on as I was scrolling through some news, and this it bummed me out. I sat there for a second and was thinking of everything I've seen him in, and Sound of Music is one of my favorite movies of all time, and Knives Out is great, and Inside Man is awesome, and a lot of great movies, a lot of great performances, and he'll be missed. Sam, do you have any thoughts on?
Yeah,
Plummer?
he was also one of the few people. I mean, this is a pretty limited list. One of the few people ever who received the Triple Crown of acting, which is an Academy Award, an Emmy Award, and a Tony Award. Obviously all in the acting categories. I mean, the only people to do this would be like people like Ingrid Bergman, Al Pacino for some reason.
I haven't heard of it. I don't know.
Helen Mirren, Frances McDormand, Viola Davis, people like that. I mean, Anne Bancroft, Jeremy Irons, but like we're talking about a very limited list, maybe 20, 30 people ever.
Right.
So, I mean, that's just such a staggering accomplishment.
And I think oldest actor to ever win an Oscar too. And
I believe so. Yeah. His Oscar win wasn't until 2012.
Right. That would have put him at, 70, 80, 81 or so.
Yeah. Something like that.
80, 84. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, and he has two other nominations that all came at about the same time, 2010 and 2018. So prolific latter half of his career as well. So I always appreciate that too. It's good to see that he's working all the way up until a couple of years before he dies. So
yeah, we always we talk about that a lot. I think I always talk about it when I bring it up on the show with De Niro, people like that, even your late 70s. It's like, what keeps you going? You know,
I guess they just love the craft, I suppose.
They love the work, and it's it's something you hope as a person, even if it's not with acting or in show business, whatever, you hope that you find something in life that you just love so much that you keep doing. At least that's the dream. But yeah, man, absolutely prolific life, and he will be missed dearly, Christopher Plummer.
Absolutely. Yeah, that one's a bummer. This is gonna be Sam. I was thinking about this when he passed, or the day after. I was kind of thinking in my head, I'm like, man, this is gonna be a long in memoriam at the Oscars this year.
Yeah,
we're gonna have a long one.
It's gonna be lengthy.
Yeah.
They might do one of these.
Games.
I think they're gonna do maybe like a 2-second slideshow. It's just gonna be emotional music playing, boom, 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 boom. Just like hit us with it real quick, so we don't have time to reflect on it.
I mean,
but
in a normal year, there's probably 50 names up there, but you'd only recognize maybe 5 or 6. I would say this year you're recognizing 15.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it'll be a tough couple of minutes for sure.
Something tells me that Chadwick's is just gonna be.
Oh gosh, he'll be the last one. He'll be.
Rightfully so, but it's gonna be like 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
On just Chadwick.
Yeah.
They're gonna put something together.
Yeah. So a lot of tears that night. But Sam, should we get into Malcolm and Marie? Unless you have any other industry news.
Oh, let's get into Malcolm and Marie.
You know what, Malcolm? I feel like once you know someone is there for you, and once you know they love you, you never actually think of them again. It's until you're about to lose someone that you finally pay attention.
Well, what is it, Marie? What do you want?
Really? Do you want to go there?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, and they went there.
They went there.
So yeah, Sam, we're talking Malcolm and Marie today. We talked about this on the early part of the show, but I texted you Friday night, and then you told me right after that you were literally just about to text me, but I was like, I don't think Judas and the Black Messiah is coming out. Want to audible to Malcolm and Marie? And I was thinking in my head, I'm like, I don't want to do this, but it's for the fans. So
just for, I mean, whoever's listening, did you actually watch Malcolm and Marie? Should you actually watch Malcolm and Marie? I mean, you're about to find out whether or not we think you should, but I think that God, it's so difficult. This is a one-time watch. Okay. Malcolm and Marie is not the kind of movie you're going to be popping on when you're in a bad mood or a good mood. It's just not.
Well, that's weird because I've seen it 3 times, but
you've seen it 3 times already. Oh, well, that's good.
No, you're right. This is a once a viewing type of movie, and maybe it shouldn't be that many times. I'm just gonna say it.
Oh, well, I mean, it has merit.
It does. It does.
It has merit. I think it is. I'm going to say it right now. I think it is worth one watch. Yeah, let's just get into it. Let's just get into it.
All right.
It's it's difficult because I have a lot of things to say about Malcolm and Marie, but it's more like a like stuff I can comment on throughout. It's not really like this, like I can't sum it up.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's not a lot to this movie, so there's not really a lot for us to spoil. They're in one setting. They're in. Well, I should say what it's about. It's about a director who just came. The director and his girlfriend who just came home from his premiere of his first movie ever, and it's basically the hour and 46 minutes that follows once they get home, essentially. So it's in one place. It's in their house that the production company puts them up in, and essentially we follow Malcolm and Marie through the night as they argue and as they argue. So there's not much
it's like a rubber band. Like they expand and contract, right?
Yeah, you know what it is. It's the what do science teachers have in their room where you pull the one ball back and it hits the others and it keeps going.
Oh yeah, Newton's cradle or whatever.
Yeah, it's like that. You know, the ball hits and we go to arguing, and then it swings there. Yes. It swings over and stays there for a second, and it comes back and it hits, and okay, now they're happy, and then they're happy for a little while, but we'll hit again and we'll be angry. I felt like, and now we're just really getting into it, I felt like as the movie was, and we'll break things down a little bit more, I felt like as the movie was going, it was just so repetitious, and I was like, well, I know what's going to happen in 2 minutes. They're going to be angry at each other again, but what are they going to be fighting over this time?
Yeah. Well, it's funny you bring up the I guess a metaphor of a Newton's cradle to relate to this, because I feel like you have to be in the mood to watch the balls go back and forth in order to watch Malcolm and Marie. It's very much a similar experience.
Yeah, you're just like, right.
You got to be in an extremely reflective mood. You got to be, like if you watch mob movies and the scene that sometimes drags down the movie, like it's true in all mob movies. They have problems with their wife. There's that one scene that kind of drags down the movie, but it doesn't bother you too much. It's like 2 minutes long, where the main gangster is fighting with his wife, and they have this big fight, and they might throw something at each other, whatever. It's like that kind of person, who watches that scene is like, if only they made a 2-hour cut of that. Malcolm and Marie is for you then. Right.
Sure. So what, Sam, what are your general thoughts on Malcolm and Marie?
Oh, man. It's so hit or miss. I mean, and I guess that's a testament to how diverse the writing is. 'Cause, 1 minute you're like, why am I watching this? This is like watching Eyes Wide Shut, but without the softcore porn.
And without Tom Cruise.
And without Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. So that's just disappointing. But
right.
So one moment you're just like, this dialogue is just like, it's just like pulling teeth, and it's just watching two people just slowly get angry at each other. And then the next moment I'm like, I'm with this, whatever this character is saying. That he has a point. It's cathartic. So yeah, it's so varied. It's very much like listening to a podcast, almost kind of a very personal podcast, and with some interesting cinematography. I'll call it interesting. But yeah, it's just so it's a weird project to begin with. What are your general thoughts if you had to sum up Malcolm and Marie?
Sure. I know I'm a lot lower on this than you are. I should say I went into this not really thinking I was going to like this much at all. And the first 30 minutes blew me away, honestly.
Yeah.
I thought the first 30 minutes were really great. Maybe that's just because I hadn't seen the last hour. Maybe if I just watched the last 30 minutes or the middle 30 minutes, each of those would have been good. But since it was just the same thing,
right,
it kind of dragged it down for me. But I really enjoyed the first 30 minutes. I was actually on board with it for a while. You mentioned the cinematography. I really liked it. I thought the black and white, sometimes I see a black and white movie, I'm like, did that need to be in black and white, or was it kind of just like, it's art, man, it's black and white. But yeah. I think the black and white helped this movie a little bit.
Yep.
I thought there was some interesting camera movement. maybe it was a little too flashy at times because this movie really shouldn't be that flashy. So it might have been. It was, but in general, I liked the cinematography. Obviously,
Yeah, I read that the film was actually shot on black and white film.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So that
know.
helps. That helps.
Cool.
It's not touched up, but
that's cool. It's been said 1,000 times, but John David Washington and Zendaya are both great in this. I mean, there's no doubt about that. This was a quarantine project, so I mean, both of them didn't really have a lot going on, but they were really going for it here. I loved that. Loved seeing that. I think what just lost me is way too repetitious. I just knew where it was going the whole time. B, I wasn't a fan of, there's maybe like 6 kind of sequences in the movie of dialogue. I wasn't a fan of like 3 of them. That being its repetition, and as well, I just wasn't a huge fan of the writing, to be completely honest. And then C, finally, which I think a lot of people are having a complaint about, is I just don't agree with what Sam Levinson was trying to say about this movie. I really don't agree with it. So, there were times where I was just like, come on, man, that just doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense to me. Maybe it does to other people, and others are like, yeah, preach. Awesome. Love it. But to me, it just lost. It didn't even lose me. I just got angry with it, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to. I know.
Okay. Well, first, I do want to go back to the point. Like, this was a quarantine project. Okay.
Yes.
And I think there's some praise to be had here, because we have seen, well, I haven't seen, but I've read about certain projects that have come out as a result of the pandemic. Like, as in, it was completely financed, produced, written, filmed during the pandemic, during lockdown, everything, right? There was this, I assume it was terrible, movie that like took place over a Zoom call.
Oh,
like a horror
what was
movie.
this?
What was that called? I don't know, but it was completely written and produced during the pandemic. And I'm like, props to them for work in a creative way, but also that's not going to age well. Even if it is effective horror, it's not going to age well.
No, yeah, you're right. In 3 months, that's going to be, people are going to see that. Like, what was this? What were we doing? I'm going to find out real quick.
That's why I'm saying, like, Sam Levinson, because this movie was completely conceived, written, filmed, financed, produced during lockdown, after lockdown. I mean, it was filmed June, July of last year, which, this podcast was on the air at that time, which is kind of wild.
Yeah, the other one you were talking about, Sam, was called Host. So go check that out if you really want to. But anyway, continue. Sorry.
But yeah, so my point is, props to Sam Levinson for having the wisdom to make something that is going to at least transcend time a little bit, but also being creative enough to get around the restrictions to film during lockdown. I mean, I thought that was impressive. And I also thought it was very timely. You have the Karen references in there. You have references to like contemporary filmmakers. Like, it's very much in this time. And it's definitely geared towards people like us who like movies, consume a lot of movies. I mean, they talked about John David Washington talked about Barry Jenkins and Spike Lee and all sorts of directors.
Yeah, William Wyler. That one was cool.
William Wyler. Yeah, a whole bunch of people. So, I mean, that was cool.
Yeah, I did like that.
So, I mean, my point here is that it's impressive that he was able to make something that was timely, but also that I know is going to age a lot better because it's not obvious that it was made during the pandemic. Like, you're not thinking about that just because it's filmed literally in someone's house.
Yeah.
Literally, that's it.
Cool house, by the way, too.
Oh, it's an amazing house.
Yeah.
And my only question is, though, the budget on this thing was $2.5 million. Like, I don't like, did you get everyone's steak every day or something?
Right.
$2.5 million for this thing.
Yeah, you have
Like,
2 cast members, and the house is really it. That's funny.
Like,
Yeah, so I'm gonna say what I liked about this movie. I went into it a little bit, but obviously the performances are great. I'll kind of, let's just get in whatever spoilers there are. We're gonna get into it right now. Go check this out on Netflix. Yeah, I should say that I thought the opening was great. Marie is kind of getting mad at Malcolm for not thanking her. Probably rightfully so, but they're arguing for a while. And this, I think if this were just a complete character study, I would have been more on board with it. Okay, well, 2 character studies really. Because I really enjoyed that aspect, and I thought the writing for that was pretty good, really. So I had no complaints about the first 30-40 minutes of this movie. Sam, what are your thoughts on that opening? The opening act, really.
Yeah, I love the opening because if you read the premise to the movie, it's like a director and his girlfriend bicker after an award show or the awards,
right,
or whatever. And right at the beginning, like literally the opening shot is their car kind of coming into the driveway and them getting out, and Malcolm walking in all ecstatic, and she's noticeably distraught. So that worked very well. Thought it was cool. Thought it was a good way to jump right to the action. The action, like there's any action in this movie, but and I think it does a good job of like letting the audience know right away what you're in for, because I knew I had read enough reviews going into it, like this is not going to be an exciting movie,
right,
per se. But I mean, I was still able to pay attention enough so that I was engaged through most of it. And then it does some things where there's moments of silence where it's like, cut it, slash it. This is unnecessary. Like, I don't need to see this. Like,
yeah, it felt very long for being an hour and 46 minutes. They could have trimmed quite a bit off of this. I
would have liked to see almost like maybe like a 80-minute movie, something like that.
Yeah,
like an hour 20. Like, no one's expecting much. You filmed this in like a few days,
right? In quarantine, yeah.
Like, it's not. I don't know.
Let's know. Sam, here's what I really want to get into. Here's what I'm curious with. What you have thoughts on, where I think we might disagree a little bit. And what I want to talk about really is
yes,
what John David Washington's character Malcolm is really talking about for the middle third of the movie.
Yeah, literally, like the second act is this rant.
He basically is talking about, they're arguing for a while. They kind of make up, and he goes to check his phone, and he realizes that the LA Times review of his movie is out. Is essentially the setup to this act. And we see him, he's struggling for a while to get his phone and wallet and whatever to to get this thing, and then he's really angry.
Right.
He reads this review, which is, you know, maybe a 2-minute read, whatever, however long he reads it. And I just thought, you know, I should say, so the review is a good review, but he's upset by how the writer of this review approached his movie, or what they took from it. And first of all, I should say, like, that review was so stupid. And I'm not like, it was made to be stupid, but what writer would write that? Like,
what?
Just one thing.
This is where we disagree, because it's like, I see those reviews all the time. For
I mean, like one of the opening lines was the Steadicam whatever blah blah, and he was like, "It's a dolly, you idiot." And I'm like, who mixes that up? A dolly and a Steadicam are so.
Oh yeah. That aspect.
That
I was talking about.
That's
no. What I'm talking about the flowery language, as it relates to.
For sure, that happens. I get that.
Yes.
But
yes.
like things like the technical, I was like, nobody. If you don't know, then you wouldn't write it. And I was like, that was so.
That
dumb.
is true.
Like, why did you even include that?
Okay. All right.
What?
So I mean, is that your position on it?
No, I have another.
Okay. Go ahead.
And what really upset me is how he goes on this like 25-minute tear.
It was excessive.
He goes on this long rant essentially about how someone should view his movie, how someone should see it, what it means, or rather maybe what it doesn't mean, or whatever. And all I was thinking is like, dude, everyone approaches a movie through their own eyes and sees it through their own eyes, through their own lens, through their own life experiences. Everyone is going to take your movie differently than you do. Literally, not one single person is going to view your movie through the same lens. Not just that you do, but comparatively to everyone else who sees it. So everyone's going to take something differently. Everyone's going to think it means a different thing. Everyone's going to want it to mean a different thing, or what they took from it. So I just couldn't stand that he was like, kept on yelling about how stupid this reviewer was because she didn't understand what it meant. I was like, dude, that is, I don't know. I found that like horrible. I was like, come on, that's not, everyone views a movie differently. And, you know, reports are out there that this, like, Sam Levinson was upset by how people reviewed one of his previous movies, whatever. I'm sure everyone's heard about it. Yeah. So he, you know, this is almost kind of like a passion project. But Mike, again, Sam, everyone views a movie differently. That's my thoughts on it. Sam, what?
Okay.
Disprove me, or what do you have?
No. Here's the thing. And I have seen similar reviews. Like, I don't know if you use this term in your review, but mouthpiece has been thrown around a lot. Like, Sam Levinson is just using these characters as mouthpieces to spout off on something he doesn't like.
I've not used that word or seen it used, but
okay. Maybe Jude used it. Friend of the show, Jude also didn't like that part. And honestly, if we're being honest, that part was my favorite part of the movie.
I just thought it was so bad. I gotta
be honest. Okay, no. Here's where I disagree with you, Will. Malcolm, John David Washington's character, was not pushing back at someone for having their own opinion of the movie. He was pushing back on someone not writing a genuine review. And I think this is very true generally with the film industry. This has just been in my experience, that when a minority director makes any movie with a lead or whatever, it's automatically, you know, a story about oppression, you know, and that's how the professional critics treat it, right? And what Malcolm is saying essentially is that's such a lazy way to write a review. Like, just because the main character is black, it has to be a story about institutional racism or whatever, you know. And he's like, that's lazy. And he rants, obviously, in pretty vulgar language about how this woman is a white woman, and just kind of just shoves that label right on his film, right? And I saw this all the time. You know, I saw this with, you know, you see the professional reviews for Moonlight, and it's like, oh, it's a story about how, you know, this society oppresses this black man, and he's also gay, and there's oppression there. And it's like, you know, when Barry Jenkins is probably standing there like, yeah, I mean, there's that in the film, but it's also about just, you know, about a young man trying to find himself. Right. Like, it's a universal human story. And that's what Malcolm is trying to get at, is like, he says it directly, like, yeah, it's not just about a black woman who suffers from drug addiction. It's about like the vices of the human condition. It's about being an addict, but also trying to find redemption in the world. It's you know, it's a movie for everybody. It's not just a movie for black female audiences, which is, of course, what, you know, a lot of the professional critics would say it is. And so
I understand what you're saying, but I still just feel like everyone sees a movie differently. And you can, you know, Malcolm or Spike Lee or Barry Jenkins or Quentin Tarantino can make whatever movie you want to make, and you can make it say what you want it to say, but people can interpret things up the wazoo. And I understand what you're saying, because, you know, we just recently saw Minari, and it completely, I mean, obviously has minorities in it, but it completely did not lean into that whatsoever.
Right.
It wasn't a story about an Asian family suffering from oppression. It was, you know, them just trying to have a farm. So I understand what you're saying, but I still was moderately upset with how he was saying it. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the other interesting thing there is, you know, Malcolm is not saying this in public, right? It's to like the most intimate person in his life.
Right. But Sam Levinson saying it in public is my point.
Yeah, he basically is. He basically is, right? But he's trying to do it. I think he's trying to do it in a way that makes sense. And I think obviously for a lot of people, it did not make sense. It hit a nerve. It struck a nerve. And, but for that part, I was literally like, preach. But because, well, also, I mean, on a personal level for us, well, I mean, Those Film Nerds is a massive corporation, so
right?
Hardly,
yeah,
but,
millions.
You know, for the people on Letterboxd.com, I mean, that's the beauty of something like Letterboxd, right? Is the idea is you're not working for a publication. You know, there's no expectation of what you're supposed to say about a movie. You know, and so you're free to express any opinion you like on the movie. And I think a lot of these professional critics have kind of just leaned into the easy answer, which is, oh, it's a story about oppression, or it's a story about our current problems as a society. When, you know, I think that most stories are about the futility of the human condition. Like, there are just certain problems that no matter how we advance as a culture, as a society, we will never solve, because human beings are insufficient inherently, you know, and that's what Malcolm's saying. And that's why I like watching movies, right? So, yeah, I mean, I liked it because it was a kickback at professional critics. But obviously, I completely understand your point. I mean, using a movie to be this preachy for a director is just so petty. You know, it's just like, if he had a personal vendetta because he, you know, some critics didn't like his last film or whatever.
It's just so like, passive aggressive to me.
it's like, come on, man. But I was not aware of that going in, so it didn't bother me.
Okay.
Like I hadn't even heard of Sam Levinson. In fact, I had to Google if he was black or not, because he spoke an awful, or Malcolm spoke an awful lot about black directors, and how they get treated by the professional media press. They talk about Spike Lee and Barry Jenkins quite a bit. So, but no, he's a British director. And he's not too prolific, really.
I mean, he doesn't have many movies or anything. Yeah, you're right.
No, but but the reason this film, Malcolm and Marie, developed was because he was shooting Euphoria with Zendaya, the show Euphoria, and then got shut down. And so he asked her, "Do you want to make a movie? I'll write something up." And then he just somehow got John David Washington involved. But yeah, so I mean, that's my take on essentially the middle act, because that is the middle act. It's him reading the review.
Yeah, and furthermore, like, while he was talking, like, disregarding even the points he was making, but just like how long he was talking and like his flow of sentences, I'm like, people don't speak like this. Nobody is this clever to speak like. And it's one thing when it happens in a Wes Anderson movie where it's supposed to be quirky, but like nobody speaks how you are speaking right now. Nobody says this stuff. It was like for a film that used the word authentic and authenticity a lot, I was like, this doesn't feel authentic at all. That was just
no, I completely get that. Look, yeah. I mean, that bothered me. I also go back to something like Shakespeare, where there's a poetry to the dialogue, and is there some value in that? Yes. In certain circumstances, because it's not, I don't know if Malcolm and Marie is necessarily trying to be lifelike 100%. I think it's kind of a culmination of a lot of different things.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'm not sure about that. Also, things to keep in mind, Malcolm and Marie are both very creative people. They're writers, they're directors, they're filmmakers.
No, I suppose actors. Yeah, I get that.
So like, there's they're very dramatic. They're obviously very well read.
Right.
Well, so I mean, I could buy into a little of that, but
let's transition into this third act. John David or Malcolm, when he's going on this rant, they've made up at this point. Marie is kind of laughing along and, almost adding fuel to the fire in a playful type of way. And then they start to make out for a little while, and they're really gonna make up. But then Marie asks Malcolm, why didn't he cast her in the movie? Because the movie is largely based on her, supposedly, or she thinks it is, but Malcolm's kind of says it's based on a lot of people or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I did this. I started to come around a little bit again. I thought that was a decent scene of her asking him. There were a lot of emotions in that room, and I thought they got conveyed onto the screen pretty well. And I thought that played nice. So I thought I was going to come around. And then the next scene of Marie grabbing the knife and acting crazy, I thought that was the dumbest thing I've ever seen on a movie ever. Like, I was sitting there and I was like, this is actually awful.
Well, I was kind of hoping that something would happen, because like she was not just acting, and like this sounds terrible, but again, it's a movie, so it could be anything. I wanted some domestic violence. Okay. I'll say it. I wanted some violence.
It would have been more interesting.
I'd be like, can this night end tragically, please? Can this movie have a little bit of like, a little bit of a gut punch as we top it off here? But like, no.
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 Oh, I just thought that was so bad. What did you think about those two scenes where she asked him, "Why didn't you cast me?" Plus the knife. You know, she's acting crazy.
Well, here's the worst part, right? Is we find out that she says they have this whole conversation. You know, why didn't you cast me in that role? And I think this is just me, but I think the whole audience assumed this. I think the assumption is that Malcolm never thought about her in that role, like never thought of casting her. And then she does this thing where she gets down on the floor, like pretends to be insane, insinuates that she's about to stab him with the knife. And then she gets up and says, "That's good acting for you," and walks away. And then Malcolm goes, "Why did you do that at the audition?"
Oh, it was
so then we find out that Marie auditioned and he still didn't pick her.
Such a bad joke too. I was like, why did that get added?
Well, I mean, it makes it even worse.
Oh,
like it
gosh.
puts him in such a terrible light all of a sudden. And I guess rightfully so, but
that was bad.
Man, that was disappointing. But here's the thing. Here's what that leads into, right? Because it's like, how much of this conflict is Malcolm's fault and how much is Marie's fault? Actually, I think the movie does well with this. I think that they share the blame pretty evenly.
They do. I was thinking that through while watching. I was like, you know, it kind of goes back and forth with each argument, which one is in the wrong. So I did enjoy that it was not lopsided. I will agree with you there.
Yeah, and I mean, it's because, you know, it's like, you know, the argument goes like this. It's like Marie says, you know, that character was based on me. I should get some credit for that, or at least thank me. And Malcolm says, well, you were certainly in there, but it's an amalgamation of a lot of people. And I had the first draft done before I even met you. And so they kind of go back and forth. But Malcolm also has his own problems because he's got this massive ego thing going on. And then Marie says in response, like, nothing is unilateral. Like, nothing is truly yours. Like, everything is everything you kind of came up with independently. Yeah, that's not truly independent. And then Malcolm says, like, yeah, but that's an artist's job, is to just absorb everything that's happening to him and try to, you know, articulate it into a medium. And it goes back and forth like that. And that's actually some interesting discussion on what art is.
Sure.
You know, what the line is between like inspiration and straight up plagiarism of a life. What is fiction? like I kind of enjoyed some of that discussion, but
yeah,
man, it was just done in like the most milquetoast way. It was just dry, you know?
I completely agree. Yeah, I was just really, I was kind of underwhelmed by this whole thing. Other than, you know, like I said, the few things at the beginning, around the top of the show. I guess we can talk about the final argument / end of the movie, then get into, you know, maybe some wrap up thoughts and ratings.
Sure, that sounds good.
I guess the final sequence worked for me. It comes full circle to the point of the first argument at the beginning. You know, all she really wanted was a thank you from Malcolm, and really that's the last argument too, is her just saying, all I really wanted was a thank you. Like, I didn't want this whole night to be arguments. Even when we got home, like it's pretty clear that she makes it clear that, you know, yes, I was really bummed that you didn't thank me at the award ceremony, but if we had even just gotten home and you had said thank you, or thank you for making the mac and cheese, and she goes on a long rant, but yeah. So I did appreciate that. That made sense to me. I like that. What did you think about that last little bit?
I liked it. It kind of, I mean, it had to happen. Like, it was the right way to end the night. And we kind of end this movie with kind of the shot of them overlooking. It almost looks like the shore, like they're on the beach or something. But they just kind of stand there, kind of united still, despite all this fighting. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it kind of had to happen just to tie things up, but it didn't feel like it was inevitable. You know, it just felt like it was almost like this movie was assigned a runtime. Like Netflix was like, okay, you can make this movie, but it has to be an hour 45. And then Sam Levinson was sitting there like, oh man, all right, how do we add 15 minutes? Okay, we can do this.
Yeah,
I wasn't.
Yeah, you're right. I guess let's just get into wrap-up thoughts, honestly. Unless you have any more thoughts on this. I'm kind of exhausted by it, to be honest with you.
It makes me tired.
Yeah.
It makes me tired.
I completely agreed. So my thoughts are this is probably a pretty okay movie. I'm not going to give it a positive rating just because I did not like it that much. I didn't like it that much, and honestly, I didn't really agree with the main message of it. If it had, I'm asking a lot here, but if it had cut 15-20 minutes and only been a character study of these two and had not dived into the movie reviewing world, I would have honestly, I probably would have loved this. Yeah.
It had some serious potential.
It just lost me in that segment, and at that point I couldn't really get over it. But I probably said throughout this show that I liked like 7 or 8 different things. So this definitely could have been something. It just wasn't for me. What are your thoughts? Or what are your wrap?
Yeah, definitely. I think that the more you think about Malcolm and Marie, the more meta it becomes. Because it's a writer director making a movie about a writer director and his relationship. It's extremely meta. I don't think I go against the idea that these characters are mouthpieces for the director. I think they are 2 pretty well developed characters, and I think it's impressive to develop characters when they're just 2 people playing off each other in one house for a night. That's hard to do, and I think they're pretty well developed. So Malcolm and Marie, it's an interesting one. It's worth a watch. It provokes some thought, but it's not much more than that.
Yeah. Let's get into ratings. Actually, do you see any like actor actress nominations here?
Maybe.
There's
only there's only 2.
Right. It's a strong year for actors and actresses. Like we have a strong actress category with at the top of that being Viola Davis and Vanessa Kirby and Carey Mulligan.
Well, this is a 20
Frances McDormand.
This is a 21 release, isn't it?
Yes, but remember that the Oscars got delayed 2 months, so they also added 2 months for release.
You're right.
So this does qualify.
Well, that's disappointing.
I'm gonna say it wins picture, it wins director.
Oh, definitely.
Because
there's nothing the Academy would love more than to give Best Picture to a movie that rants about them for like an hour.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. All right. I'm just gonna get, this is a 2 stars, 2 out of 5. I'm
a little more generous, and this doesn't happen very often.
No, it doesn't. Mark it on your calendar.
I'm usually more conservative with my stars. I'm stringent about them, but I'm going to give this 2.5 out of 5. I think it gives you a lot to think about but it's just boring and bland.
It is boring and bland for sure.
So.
But there we go. Sam, let's never think about Malcolm and Marie again, and let's talk about some recommendations. I got one that I'm excited for, that I'm ready to talk about. Can I go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, gosh, this started maybe like a year and a half ago. And you know, we had our first guest on the show, and still our only guest on the show, when we did Tenet, that being Jude. Yeah. We actually mentioned him in this episode, conveniently enough. Yeah. And his recommend on the show was Twin Peaks. And I thought, you know, I should give it a go. So I texted Jude maybe about a month ago. And I said, you know, because I look at Twin Peaks on Letterboxd and it's just so daunting. I mean, there's like 5 different things of it. And I'm like, what do I watch? When do I watch it? So I texted him like, hey man, I'm getting into Twin Peaks. Where do I start? And what order do I watch it?
Because it's confusing. It makes no sense.
It is. So I was like, where do I go? So he said you know, here's the order. So I've been watching the original Twin Peaks series. It's on Netflix right now. So, and that is my recommend, the original Twin Peaks series. I'm not through it all the way, but I've been watching it when I texted him about a month ago, I didn't get started for a couple weeks, but I've been watching it for 2 weeks. I'm already through this mid of the second season. So I'm through like 2/3 of it. Oh man, it is excellent storytelling, Sam. It's weird, really? And some of the acting is a bit cringy at the beginning, but it's some good storytelling, and I'm recommending it. Twin Peaks on Netflix. And then if you finish, I mean, I haven't seen them yet, but I'm sure Twin Peaks the movie and Twin Peaks the Return are also great. So I guess check those out too.
All right, I gotta check them out when I find time. I'm gonna sit down.
So I'm literally breezing through Twin Peaks the original series. And so I was looking the other day. I'm like, you know, where is Twin Peaks the movie and where is Twin Peaks the Return, the 2017 series? And they're nowhere. Like you can't even rent them. Like much less streaming. Like you can't even stream it on Netflix or Amazon, Hulu. Like you cannot even rent them on like YouTube or anything. You
gotta buy them. You gotta buy a used VHS.
I don't know where I'm gonna find this, but we'll see. So Twin Peaks, go check that out on Netflix. But what's your Sam? What's your recommend?
So this is not a good movie, not by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I watched probably one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life last weekend.
Oh my gosh.
Literally one of the worst, and it's so bad that
as I go on the box to see.
It is like The Room level, okay? In my book, it's almost better than The Room because. So last weekend, we had some friends who obviously, you know, they're not film. They don't listen to the podcast. Okay.
Sure. Okay.
And they really wanted to watch this Netflix movie that came out a few years ago with what's her face, Jennifer Garner, called Peppermint.
Oh, good.
And I hadn't seen it, so I thought, okay, well, we'll just go over there, put it on the projector in one of the classrooms, and yeah, let's watch it. It is like I cannot comprehend how many different tropes they fit into this movie. Like it's like all the action movie cliches, like just shoved in together, and it's so bad you almost wonder, like,
you can't look away.
Intentional? Is this intentional? Like, it is dreadful, and you have to wonder what they were trying to do with it. So I'm gonna recommend Peppermint if you have absolutely nothing better to do. I'm gonna recommend Peppermint for a good evening of laughs and, I don't know, snarky comments.
I haven't seen this, but I'm looking at it on Letterboxd, and I just want to read the tagline because this is great. The tagline is, here we go. It's 2 sentences. The system failed. She won't.
I swear to God, it's a serious movie. It's just not like, it's so hard to take it seriously.
It's not self-aware.
It's not self-aware at all. Like, it's like straight faced the entire time.
That's great. I will recommend a movie that is also very serious, but not self-aware at all next week as well. So get ready for that too. But Sam, until next week, when we're talking Judas and the Black Messiah, unless it actually comes out in 2 more weeks again, and then we'll figure out something else. Just kidding.
Yeah,
I know it comes out next week. I did my homework. Until next time, Sam, where can I find you on Letterboxd, where you have recently logged and rated Peppermint?
You can find me on letterboxd.com/sjdierberger. And where can I find you, Will?
You can find me on Letterboxd, where I will never rate and log Peppermint. Will Spalding. And you can always find us arguing in our mansion somewhere by an ocean, maybe. Or you can find us at anchor.fm/thosefilmnerds and Those Film Nerds on all podcast platforms and YouTube, or Those Film Nerds on Instagram at thosefilmnerds@gmail.com. Email any thoughts or questions or movie-related items into the show, and we'll get back to you as soon as blah, 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 blah. And Sam, with all that being said, until next time.
Keep watching movies, everyone. Have a great week.
Thanks for listening.
Ever thought about making a podcast? Well, Anchor is the easiest and simplest way to do so. Let me explain. For starters, it's free. There's also creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast